Everything in Oz can kill you. Captain Mystarian told me this while stuffing a fistful of Skittles into his mouth. That's how he brushed his teeth in the morning. Hand me my bow tie, mate. Over by the, stack of boxes. Right there, yeah. He scooped some more Skittles out of the bowl by his bedside. He loved those things. Come to think of it, Thunderbird, RC Cola, and Crown Royale, they do kind of taste like Skittles. Huh. The captain's sleeping quarters were located in a separate room branching off from the rear of his cabin. Stepping inside was like entering a maze of cardboard boxes. The boxes contained effects from the captain's house he'd never unpacked. From on top of one of those boxes, I picked up a strip of curvy black fabric, Captain Mystarian's bow tie, and the words dining room peeked through the dust on the cardboard beneath. I handed the bow tie, the last piece of his uniform, to Captain Mystarian and watched as he tied it, standing in front of his full-length oval mirror. As always, when he finished dressing, he drew his sword. "Avast!" Captain Mystarian said to his reflection. That meant stop. Captain Mystarian shouted it at himself every morning. "What do you mean everything can kill you?" I asked. "What do you mean, what do I mean? Everything. Roos, gorillas. Let's not forget about the deadly koala bear." He turned and nodded, walking by me to the kitchen area. "Should see the fangs on them bastards." Understated exaggeration. The epitome of Aussie humor. "I'm serious," I said. "Like what? What's the most dangerous?" Captain Mystarian shrugged. "Dunno," he said, his back to me. "Most dangerous? Well, would have to think on that." He started making his breakfast. I never got his breakfast right, he said, and then he stopped scraping that disgusting Vegemite onto his toast and glanced back over his shoulder, saying, "There's a few fair deadly beasts in old Oz." The sound of a knife scraping on toast recommenced. "Though, I'd reckon snakes are right dangerous. Say, you want some brekkie?" "No, for the millionth time. You were saying about snakes?" "Oh, snakes, yeah. Yeah, snakes. Got the world's 10 most deadliest snakes in Oz, you know. Aye. Only place on Earth where venomous species outnumber the non-venomous ones. Few flying snakes, too. Fly right down from Indonesia." Flying snakes do exist, I later discovered. That wasn't just Aussie humor. Got your brown snake, tiger snake, taipan, sea serpents, don't forget about them bastards. Only mildly venomous, but they bite. "Mildly venomous?" I asked, handing Captain Mystarian his morning drink. "Aye, hey, yeah. Rip 'em, mate." He took his drink. "Thanks for that. But no, mild by Aussie standards, I reckon. Cheers." He raised his glass and took a swig, afterwards wiping his mouth with the back of his sleeve so that his brass cufflinks made a xylophone of his teeth. That'll put you right in the morning, won't she?" "Yeah," I nodded, "like brushing your teeth." The captain shook his head, or maybe his brain, like a dog shaking off water. Then he said, let's see. Then you got, crocs, of course, and spiders. Redbacks crawl right up from the dunny, they will. Bite your arse. Redbacks? Aye, redbacks. You know redbacks. Like, he snapped his fingers to help him think. "Oh, what's that you Yanks got? A cousin of theirs. Hourglass. The Black Widow," he snapped. "That's it. Yeah, redback's like a black widow on her period." I picked up the jar of Vegemite and smelled it, just in case my taste buds had changed during the last 24 hours to savor yeast-flavored mud. They hadn't. I gagged. I'd have to wait for the dining room, or as the captain referred to it, the galley, to open in an hour or so. Either that or eat dry toast like I was Elwood Blues. Captain Mystarian picked up his mud toast, bit off a hunk and chewed, leaning back on the counter built into the wall. "That's the thing about Oz," he chewed. "Our creepy crawlies, they don't stay in the bush. No, they nestle up next to you. Right next to you." He half swallowed. "They live with you." Aussies kept vials of anti-venom like Americans kept aspirin. Open any Aussie medicine cabinet and you'd find them, right between the analgesics and the bandages. Remedies for cardiovascular failure, and nervous system failure, and circulatory system failure, right alongside cures for headaches and the flu. "That's why we'll win the war," Captain Mystarian said, pointing with his toast. He put the last bite in his mouth and chewed, speaking regardless. "Oz, mate. You Yanks won't ever invade Oz. Not ever. Your generals know everything in Oz can kill you." He was right about one thing. The American army would never set foot on Australian soil. They'd fight the entire Australarctic War on ice. The Seven Nations staged operations on the closest shores. They amassed forces in Australia and the surrounding islands. The U.S. military let the Seven Nations establish permanent bases to launch attack after attack on the U.S. Army's perimeter and the government mines in Antarctica, turning ice into shrapnel. "We'll have the whole bloody continent surrounded soon enough, mate," Captain Mystarian told me. No offense. He was right about that, too. New Zealand built airstrips on Scott Island and the Aucklands in the Southern Ocean. Chilean forces struck from their own shores. Moving into the South Atlantic, you had Beauvais Island for around to the Indian Ocean, Georgia, the French island of Crozet. That brought you back to Australia. That made Antarctica surrounded. Not that this seemed to faze the Americans. They defended themselves, but did nothing in terms of counterattack. Their miners just kept mining for vanadium. Their military let all their enemies gather around until, "Hey, I almost forgot," Captain Mastarian said. "Jellies." "Huh? What's that?" I asked for a second, hoping it had something to do with toast. I'd eat toast with jelly. "Fix us another of those terps," Captain Mastarian said, meaning turpentine, which meant a drink, and then continued, "Yeah, jellies. Only thing kill you faster than snakes or jellies. Less poisonous, but you drowned." Wait, you mean like jellyfish? I opened the liquor globe. "Those are poisonous. If they sting you, aye, burn like bloody hell they will. Make you buckle over. Not good if you're wanting to swim." I thought this over while mixing Captain Mastarian another drink. "That's sort of important information, don't you think? Why didn't you mention that earlier?" "How do you mean?" "Seeing as I'm jumping ship in Sydney," I said, handing him his drink. "You sure she's even in Sydney?" "Yeah, of course. What do you think? I'm stupid?" Really, I had no idea where Callie would be in Australia. Hey, don't get your knickers in a twist. In fact, speaking of knickers, here. Oh, I've got just the thing. He handed his drink back to me, then disappeared into the back room with all the boxes. "There be ways around jellies," the captain shouted. I heard the sounds of rummaging through a closet. Then, not a minute later, Captain Mastarian returned, stretching and unstretching the elastic waistband on a pair of women's pantyhose. He was grinning ear to ear. "Those yours?" I asked. Yes, very funny. I'm a tranny. No, these are for you, for protection." Captain Mastarian went on to explain how, ever since the late 60s, Aussie surfers had used pantyhose to protect against jellyfish stings. Apparently, the stingers were too short to penetrate the fabric. "Even fabric as thin as pantyhose?" I asked. "Aye, fair dinkum," Captain Mastarian said. Fair dinkum meant "that's the truth" in Aussie speak. "Okay," I said. "Well, I guess in that case I'll wear them. Thanks." "No probs," he said, tossing me the pantyhose and standing with his hands on his hips, proudly nodding. "Now all you gotta worry about's the sharks."